Imagine waking up one morning to realize that everything you thought you knew about money was a lie. Your savings, salary, and investments were all based on a system that changed overnight. The craziest part? Almost no one noticed it happen. It wasn't a war. It wasn't a revolution. It was a quiet Sunday night in August 1971 when President Richard Nixon appeared on live television. With calm confidence, he looked into the camera and said a few words that would quietly reshape the global economy forever. The United States will suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. That was it. With that one sentence, the gold standard, the foundation of the financial world for centuries, was gone. Money became something new, something far more dangerous. For thousands of years, gold wasn't just a metal, it was trust itself. From the pharaohs of Egypt to the kings of Europe, gold meant stability. You could melt it, trade it, or bury it, and it would still hold value. Empires rose and fell, but gold remained the ultimate truth. By the 20th century, this concept was embedded in the core of the global system. Every US dollar could be exchanged for a fixed amount of gold. The system was simple, elegant, and powerful. It kept governments honest because they couldn't print money they didn't have. But wars are expensive. Ambitions are even more so. After World War II, America became the world's banker. However, as it tried to fund wars, rebuild Europe, and keep its promises at home, the system began to break down. Gold reserves were shrinking while dollars in circulation were exploding. By the late 1960s, foreign governments had begun to panic. They realized that the United States was printing far more dollars than it could back with gold. They began demanding their gold back. France even sent warships to New York Harbor to collect its gold reserves. That's when Nixon made his move. On August 15, 1971, he severed the link between the dollar and gold. He ended the convertibility of the dollar to gold, effectively killing the Bretton Woods system. From that day forward, the US dollar was no longer tied to gold or anything else of value. It was just paper, a promise backed by belief. As history teaches, belief is the most fragile currency of all. Many didn't realize it at the time, but this marked the beginning of a new kind of empire, without the restraint of gold. Governments could now print money without limit. Inflation became an invisible but powerful tax. Prices rose, wages stagnated, and the dream of saving for the future began to crumble. But for some, this was a golden age. Those who owned assets, land, stocks, and companies, suddenly saw their wealth multiply. As paper money lost its value, real assets absorbed that excess. This was the greatest transfer of wealth in modern history. From those who earned money to those who owned things, the game had changed, and only a few understood the new rules. The following decades looked like a miracle. There were booming markets, bigger houses, faster cars, and the rise of the global middle class. But behind this glittering facade was a ticking bomb: debt. Without gold as an anchor, debt became infinite. Governments borrowed endlessly. Corporations leveraged everything. Individuals, chasing the dream of prosperity, followed the same path. Credit cards, mortgages, and student loans were all fed by the same illusion, that you could borrow today and the future would pay for it. But as every empire in history has learned, when your wealth is built on promises, time eventually calls your bluff. That's exactly what happened. Since gold lost its status as a standard, the global economy has been defined by cycles of crisis, each one bigger than the last. There were the oil shocks of the 1970s, the dot-com bubble of the 2000s, the financial crisis of 2008, and the pandemic stimulus and inflation wave of the 2020s. The pattern is always the same. Crisis strikes, panic spreads, and governments save the system by printing more money. The cure becomes the disease. Each round of money printing makes the next collapse more inevitable. However, the rich already know the secret. Crisis is opportunity in disguise. Every collapse resets the game, eliminating the weak and rewarding those who are patient. So what replaced gold? The answer is both simple and terrifying: trust in the dollar. The dollar became the global currency, not because it was stable, but because the alternatives were worse. The US could print trillions of dollars, and the world would still accept them in exchange for oil, trade, and power. In a sense, gold lost its crown, and the dollar became the new king. However, it's a king that rules on borrowed time. Every empire believes its currency will last forever. The Romans thought the same about their silver denarius. The British thought the same about the pound. History whispers, your turn will come. So what should we do? You can't control the global system, but you can understand the game being played, and that's your biggest advantage. The loss of gold's dominance taught us one eternal truth. Money is never truly real. It's only as strong as the faith people have in it. Build value that can't be printed away. Knowledge, skills, assets that can feed you, protect you, or grow on their own. When the next crown falls, and it will, those who understand the system will not panic. They will adapt. They will rebuild. The day gold lost its crown wasn't the end of money as we know it. Rather, it marked the beginning of belief-based wealth, a world where numbers on screens replaced metal in vaults. Perhaps the real story here isn't about gold or dollars, but about us. We built a system that reflects our psychology: faith, greed, fear, and the endless pursuit of more. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Right now, those same echoes are getting louder. So when you hear people say, money will always hold its value, remember 1971. Remember the quiet Sunday when everything changed. Because the next time a crown falls, it might not be made of gold. It could be everything.